Hello ladies and gentlemen and movie lovers of all kind, and welcome back to the channel. As always, I am your host Brett Murphy, and for today's video it is going to be another ranking. And I am going to be ranking all 11 of the DCEU movies. So with James Gunn's The Suicide Squad finally releasing simultaneously in theaters and on HBO Max, well, you know darn well that it's time for me to update my ranking. Before I hop into the actual ranking itself, I just wanted to let you all know that I have an entire playlist dedicated to all of my ranking videos. So be sure to check that out, and I guarantee you'll find something you like. And so with all that being said, let's hop right into things. Number 11, Justice League 2017. I used to not mind this movie, but over the years I've come to see it for the atrocity that it is. It's just so hollow and devoid of any soul at all. It is a lifeless, joyless bore fest. And don't get me wrong, I know some people do enjoy it, and that's perfectly cool by me. I'm not saying you can't enjoy it. And I'm definitely not saying you're wrong for liking it. This is just my take on it. The villain is just plain bad, and there's nothing even remotely exciting or memorable about any of the action. The humor is weird and awkward, and even these fantastic characters with these fantastic casting choices feel dull, and like their talents are being completely wasted. This movie is just a disjointed mesh of too many hands being in the cookie jar, which led to a very rushed and lackluster product. Number 10. Suicide Squad 2016. One of the biggest offenders I can think of when it comes to wasted potential. I know that just recently, as of the recording of this video, David Ayer released one final statement discussing what has now become known as the Ayer Cut. And in it he states that he created something entirely different from what we got. And honestly, I believe him. But sadly, as it currently stands, this is the final product we have to go off of, and it is a complete and utter mess. The villains are awful. The action is generic and boring. The style and tone of the movie are all over the place. The only saving grace is some of the cast. Will Smith as Deadshot, Margot Robbie of course as Harley Quinn, Jai Courtney as Captain Boomerang surprisingly, and I believe the most overlooked is Jay Hernandez, who was exceptional as Diablo. Number 9. Wonder Woman 1984. I had such high hopes for this one. It actually looked like a ton of fun. It was set in the 80s, it looked beautiful and vibrant. Patty Jenkins was back to direct, but somehow it managed to land mostly flat on its face. Again, I know some people really dug this movie, but for me it just did not work at all. The entire plot is just so cartoony and cheesy. I mean, the whole movie revolves around a magical wish-granting rock. Yeah, I didn't believe it at first either. A lot of the CGI is shoddy as hell. I mean, it is rough. None of the action is even remotely entertaining. The jokes don't land, and the ending is abysmal. The only saving grace for me once again are the performances. Gal Gadot is once again superb as Wonder Woman. Chris Pine is charming and charismatic as always. Pedro Pascal is exceptional as expected. And Kristen Wiig actually surprised me quite a bit with how much I enjoyed her in this role. Number 8. Birds of Prey. Okay, this movie gets a ton of shit that it does not deserve at all. Sure, I think most of the fight scenes are a bit goofy. I mean, when you have a big burly dude getting hit in the face with a cell phone and doing a whole ass backflip, you know something is a little off. But I truly felt that all of our leading ladies kicked a ton of ass, and were all magnificently well casted. Ewan McGregor absolutely killed it as Roman Sionis / Black Mask. And I really dug the overall style of this movie. It's colorful, wacky, and doesn't take itself too seriously. It sets the tone perfectly right out of the gate and sticks to its guns for the entire runtime. I love the costume design, and the majority of the humor landed for me. Overall, it wasn't a game changer by any means, but it's a nice little treat that I will always enjoy and defend. Number 7. Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice. I want to start out by saying that I am talking about the Ultimate Edition here, as this is the only version of this movie that I will watch. Don't get me wrong, however, I don't think that the Ultimate Edition fixes all of the problems with this movie. But in my eyes, it definitely fills in some much needed blanks, which helps out a ton with the overall narrative and flow / pacing of the movie. Henry Cavill is marvelous once again as Superman. Ben Affleck showed that he was worthy of the cape and cowl. However, I have never and will never like Jesse Eisenberg as Lex Luthor. It just doesn't work for me on any level. The story is bloated for sure, but I enjoy it for the most part nevertheless. And although the actual Batman v Superman part is short-lived, it's freaking awesome. Wonder Woman, Doomsday, and the introduction to the Justice League being shoehorned into the end of the movie was a mistake, even if the Trinity finally coming together is spectacular. Again, it still has its issues, but this movie has grown on me so much since its initial release. Number 6. Shazam. By far the funniest and most lighthearted of the bunch, and that's certainly not a bad thing. Although the action sequences aren't particularly exhilarating or epic, the movie makes up for it with a lot of genuine laughs and even more heart, with the theme of family, home, and love at the center of it all. I also love the design of the 7 deadly sins, even if their CGI is pretty bad. Zachary Levi is wonderful as our lead hero, and all of the child actors very much so hold their own. Sadly though, the usual top tier Mark Strong plays an undeniably dull and generic villain. Number 5. Wonder Woman. This movie had almost everything going for it. Gal Gadot was and still is perfect as Wonder Woman. Chris Pine plays Chris Pine, but that's never a bad thing. Their little band of misfits are unique, diverse, and hilarious. The World War I setting was a phenomenal choice. The mascara is stunning and beautiful. The score is exceptional. The action hits hard and fast. And I could honestly continue on and on. But this movie's villains are all sadly so bad. They're cheesy, corny, and painfully cringy. And the third and final act is a major letdown. Number 4. Aquaman. I really don't get some people's hatred for this movie. I unapologetically love it despite its flaws, which I believe there to be very few of. Firstly, this movie is on a whole nother level visually. In my eyes, it is the best in terms of visual effects since Avatar. Jason Momoa continues to kick ass and be the king that he is as Aquaman. Patrick Wilson is very clearly having the time of his life hamming it up as Orm. The action is over the top and appropriately absurd. It's funny, charming, and just self-aware enough. It knows what it is and embraces it completely. And that's why it works so well for me. Number 3. The Suicide Squad. Over the top, chaotic, balls to the wall insanity. James Gunn really did get complete creative control and free reign with this one, and it shows. No one is safe. No one. It's gory, violent, foul, in your face, brutal, hilarious, and surprisingly full of heart. Each and every one of the characters gets their time to shine. The cast blends magnificently well. The casting itself for the new roles was spot on. And I really love how this movie turns the spotlight on many lesser known villains. It's exactly what we wanted, exactly what we needed, and I can't wait for more. Not to mention both the soundtrack and the score are marvelous. Number 2. Zack Snyder's Justice League. We asked for it, we begged for it, we petitioned for it, and some of us even paid for it. And we finally got it in all of its true glory. And it was better than we ever could have even dreamed of. The action and scale of this movie are the definition of epic. The cast fade right into their roles as if they were born to play them. The score is phenomenal. Both Steppenwolf and Darkseid are incredible villains. The cast meshes superbly well with one another. Everyone gets their moment in the sun. I laughed, cried, cheered, all of it. Not to mention this movie is miraculously well paced despite its 4-hour runtime. And number 1, Man of Steel. Yes, I do believe the DCEU's first is still very much so its best. This movie is flawless in my eyes. Henry Cavill is Superman. The best iteration of the character that we have ever had, and this movie is the pinnacle of the character. Wonderful storytelling as we jump around through various points of Clark's life. The action is exactly how Superman would throw down. The score is some of Hans Zimmer's best work. It's visually stunning, well-paced, Michael Shannon is perfect as Zod. The movie is just all around spectacular, and among my favorite comic book movies ever. So that is all for today's video, folks. Be sure to let me know down in the comments if you agree or disagree with my ranking. And while you're at it, feel free to let me know what ranking you'd like to see me do next. If you enjoyed that video, be sure to hit that thumbs up button. And if you'd like to see more content, consider subscribing to my channel and ringing that little bell icon. That way you can be notified about all of my latest uploads. And as always, stay safe. Thank you so much for watching. And that's a wrap. Hey you, yeah you, if you made it this far, just know I appreciate you, and while you're here, consider hitting that subscribe button.